In the crystalline chambers of the Meridian High Council, first speaker Lyra Nine's facets dimmed in confusion. For the first time in 10,000 years of diplomatic history, the probability matrices were yielding contradictory results. The humans' response to first contact had defied every prediction model in the Meridian's vast database of species behaviors. "Explain again," Lyra 9 commanded, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns of bewilderment. How did they achieve quantum tunneling using primitive particle accelerators and modified mining equipment? The analysis specialist, ARC-7, projected a holographic replay of the human experiment. They didn't achieve it the way we would have. They improvised. When their conventional approach failed, they didn't follow any established scientific progression. They simply tried something different. The council chamber hummed with disturbed harmonics. In the Meridian's experience, technological advancement followed clear, predictable paths. Species either developed according to these known progressions or stagnated. Yet humans seemed to skip entire stages of development, making intuitive leaps that should have been impossible. And their response to our diplomatic overture? Lyra 9's voice carried undertones of concern. Equally unprecedented, ARC-7 admitted. When we offered them protected status within the Meridian consensus, they, the specialist, paused, as if still struggling to process the data. They laughed. Then they asked if we'd like to trade jokes and share a drink instead. The council chamber erupted in discordant frequencies. Protected status within the consensus was the highest honor the Meridians could bestow upon an emerging species. No race had ever responded with humor. It simply wasn't done. Perhaps, suggested Core 4, the council's senior behaviorist, we should consider their biological composition. Unlike our crystalline clarity, humans are messy. Their neural pathways are organic, fluid, constantly reforming. Their decision-making processes appear to incorporate elements we would classify as errors, yet somehow these errors often lead to unexpected breakthroughs. Lyra 9 extended her sensory arrays, absorbing the full spectrum of data flowing through the chamber. The humans were an anomaly, but not in the way most emerging species deviated from norms. They didn't just develop differently. They seemed to actively reject the concept of predictable development itself. "Show me their response to the gravity well test," she commanded. The holographic display shifted, showing a human vessel approaching a Class 5 gravity well, a standard evaluation the Meridians use to assess a species' problem-solving capabilities. The expected solution involved complex calculations and precise navigational adjustments. Instead, the humans had. Lyra 9's facets pulsed in disbelief. They modified their shield harmonics to create a localized wave of anti-gravitons. ARC-7 confirmed, using technology that by our understanding shouldn't be capable of such manipulation. Yes, when asked how they conceived this solution, the human captain said they got the idea from an old science fiction show. The council chamber fell into troubled silence. The Meridians had encountered thousands of species over their long history. Some were aggressive, others peaceful. Some were technological, others mystical. But all of them followed patterns. All of them could be understood through the careful application of probability and logic. Humans, it seemed, operated outside the boundaries of both. "We must reconsider our approach," Lyra 9 declared finally. "Our standard diplomatic protocols assume rational actors working within known parameters. Humans appear to be rational, yet their rationality operates on principles we cannot yet comprehend. They combine technologies in ways our scientists deemed impossible. They respond to formal overtures with informal suggestions of social interaction. They solve complex problems using methods derived from fictional entertainment." "What do you propose?" Core 4 asked, harmonics betraying deep concern. "We must adapt," Lyra 9 answered. "For the first time in our history, we face a species that cannot be safely categorized or predicted. This presents both danger and opportunity. The humans' very unpredictability might be the key to understanding them." As if to emphasize her point, a new data stream entered the chamber. Somewhere in human space, a research team had just achieved controlled fusion using a combination of outdated fission technology and repurposed medical imaging equipment. The Meridian's probability engines crashed trying to explain how this was possible. "Contact their leadership," Lyra 9 commanded. "Accept their offer of drinks and jokes. Perhaps in embracing their chaos, we might find a new kind of order." The Council's harmonics shifted to frequencies of acceptance, though undertones of anxiety remained. The Meridians had always been the ones to guide younger species into the galactic community. Now, for the first time, they faced the possibility that they might be the ones with something to learn. In the vast darkness of space, human ships continued their unpredictable dance through the stars, leaving behind a wake of broken probability matrices and shattered assumptions. The age of certainty was ending, and none of the Meridian's crystal-clear predictions could tell them what would come next. The Meridian Analysis Hub pulsed with agitated light as streams of data poured in from across human space. 6 months had passed since first contact, and every attempt to establish a predictable framework for human behavior had failed spectacularly. "Another anomaly," announced ARC-7, his crystalline form clouded with frustration. The mining colony on Proxima b was expected to deplete its resources within 2 years. Instead, they've discovered a way to recycle stellar matter using modified terraforming equipment. It's not even supposed to work that way. Lyra 9 studied the data streams with growing concern. The Meridian Consensus had deployed their most sophisticated predictive AI, the probability engine, to analyze human development patterns. The engine, which had successfully mapped the evolutionary paths of over 10,000 species, was now experiencing unprecedented failure rates. "Show me the latest simulation," she commanded. The chamber filled with a holographic display of human expansion patterns. According to all known models of species development, humans should have concentrated their efforts on establishing stable, resource-rich colonies in clearly advantageous locations. Instead, they scattered across the sector like cosmic seeds in the wind, settling in seemingly random locations that defied logical analysis. "They're establishing outposts in asteroid fields," Core 4 observed, his harmonics carrying tones of disbelief, "using the gravitational fluctuations to generate power. This violates at least 3 fundamental laws of efficient resource management." "And yet it works," Lyra 9 responded. "Not only works, but provides energy yields 30% higher than our standard methods." The probability engine tried to process this information and crashed for the 7th time that day. The Meridians had built their entire civilization on the principle that the universe operated according to clear, predictable patterns. Their crystalline nature reflected this belief: ordered, transparent, logical. Humans seemed to embody the opposite principle, finding success in chaos and inspiration in disorder. A new alert caught Lyra 9's attention. "What's happening in the Centauri sector?" ARC-7 projected the relevant data. "A human research vessel encountered one of our automated survey probes. Standard protocol dictates that emerging species should submit to a technological assessment. The humans instead invited the probe to participate in something called a science fair." The chamber's harmonics shifted to frequencies indicating collective confusion. The probe's AI, designed to conduct rigid evaluations, was now engaged in an impromptu exchange of scientific ideas with human researchers. More disturbing still, the humans were proposing theoretical applications of Meridian technology that the Meridians themselves had never considered. "This cannot continue," declared Core 4. "Their unpredictability poses too great a risk." The probability engine indicates a 78% chance that unrestricted human innovation will destabilize the carefully ordered structure of galactic society. The same probability engine that has failed to accurately predict a single major human development. Lyra 9's question sent discordant ripples through the chamber. Before Core 4 could respond, another alert demanded attention. Somewhere in human space, a group of children had reprogrammed a food synthesizer to create self-replicating candy. The probability engine attempted to calculate the implications and experienced a complete systems failure. "We must act," Core 4 insisted. "The protocols are clear. When a species demonstrates development patterns that threaten galactic stability, they must be contained. For their own good, and the good of all." Lyra 9's facets darkened. The protocols were indeed clear, developed over millennia of careful observation and precise prediction. But something about this situation felt different. The humans weren't threatening stability through aggression or technological recklessness. They were threatening it by suggesting that instability itself might be a path to greater understanding. "Perhaps," she suggested, her harmonics carefully modulated, "we should consider an alternative approach. Instead of containing human unpredictability, we could attempt to understand it." "Impossible," Core 4 objected. "Their thought processes defy systematic analysis. Even now, they're developing technologies by combining elements that should be incompatible. They're establishing colonies in locations our models deemed uninhabitable. They're teaching our probes to play games." "Exactly," Lyra 9 responded. "And in each case, they're achieving results we would have dismissed as impossible. What does that suggest about the limitations of our own understanding?" The chamber fell silent as the implications rippled through the collective consciousness of the Council. The Meridians had always seen themselves as guides, helping younger species navigate the precise paths of technological and social development. Now they faced a species that didn't just stray from these paths, it denied their very necessity. In the silence, a new alert appeared. A human colony had made first contact with the drift, a gaseous species the Meridians had long classified as non-sentient. Somehow, the humans had recognized patterns of consciousness that centuries of Meridian observation had missed. The probability engine, attempting to process this development, didn't just crash. It began questioning its own fundamental assumptions. "We stand at a crossroads," Lyra 9 announced. "We can attempt to force human development into our existing models, likely triggering resistance we cannot predict. Or we can accept that our models themselves may be incomplete." The choice hung in the chamber like a crystalline seed about to shatter. In all their history, the Meridians had never faced such a fundamental challenge to their understanding of reality. As they debated, somewhere in human space, a child was asking why faster-than-light travel couldn't be accomplished by thinking happy thoughts and believing really hard. The probability engine, against all logic, flagged this as a query requiring serious investigation. The great crystalline spires of the Meridian Central Archive shimmered with unprecedented patterns of distress. For the first time in recorded history, the archive's quantum cores were experiencing cascade failures. The cause? They were attempting to process the latest data from human space. "Impossible," Arc 7 declared, his crystalline form flickering with agitation. "They've managed to establish faster-than-light communication using quantum-entangled coffee makers." Lyra 9 studied the incoming data streams with a mixture of fascination and horror. The humans had apparently discovered that the molecular structure of caffeine, when properly excited, could maintain quantum coherence at room temperature. Rather than conducting careful experiments to verify this phenomena, they had immediately started mass-producing what they called quantum coffee machines for practical use. "The fundamental laws of physics," Core 4 began, "are being rewritten," Lyra 9 interrupted. "Or perhaps our understanding of them was never as complete as we believed." The archive's main display showed a real-time map of human innovation spreading across the sector. Traditional models of technological development resembled crystalline structures, orderly, predictable, growing along clear lines of progression. Human development looked more like an organic explosion, with ideas cross-pollinating in ways that should have been impossible. A new alert demanded attention. A human colony had encountered one of the dreaded space anomalies, regions of space-time distortion that the Meridians had carefully mapped and quarantined over millennia. Standard protocol dictated immediate evacuation. Instead, the humans had started surfing them. They're using the gravitational waves for recreational purposes, ARC-7 reported, his voice carrying harmonics of disbelief. They've developed ships specifically designed to ride the anomalies. They're calling it space surfing, and it's becoming a popular sport. The probability engine, recently rebuilt after its last catastrophic failure, attempted to calculate the implications of humans treating cosmic hazards as entertainment opportunities. It managed to output a single prediction before shutting down. All previous models of species behavior require fundamental reconstruction. This cannot be allowed to continue, Core 4 insisted. They're not just defying our predictions, they're challenging the very foundations of rational development. Look at their latest innovation in the medical field. The display shifted to show human doctors using modified food replicators to create custom organs for transplant. According to all known laws of technological progression, a species should master genetic engineering before attempting such procedures. The humans had instead decided that since food replicators could make organic matter, they might as well try making spare body parts. And it works, Lyra 9 observed. Their solution is inelegant, seemingly random, and completely functional. Just like their quantum coffee makers, their anomaly surfing, and their candy-based computing experiments. The mention of the latter incident sent ripples of disturbance through the chamber. A group of human children had somehow developed a basic quantum computer using programmable candy, claiming they got the idea from watching sugar crystals grow in science class. The Meridian scientists were still trying to understand how it functioned. We're facing a crisis of understanding, Lyra 9 continued. Our entire civilization is built on the principle that the universe follows logical, predictable patterns. The humans aren't just violating these patterns, they're suggesting that our understanding of logic itself might be too limited. The archive's crystals pulsed with waves of uncertainty. Throughout the chamber, Meridians were experiencing something they had never encountered before: doubt. Not just doubt about their predictions or their technology, but doubt about the fundamental nature of reality itself. A new data stream caught everyone's attention. A human research team had managed to establish communication with a quantum singularity. According to all known physical laws, this was impossible. According to the humans, they simply asked it nicely and brought cookies. Perhaps, suggested ARC-7, his voice carrying a new harmonic of possibility, we should consider that the humans aren't actually violating the laws of the universe. Maybe they're showing us that these laws are more flexible than we imagined. The chamber resonated with the implications. The Meridians had always seen the universe as a vast crystalline structure, beautiful in its order, predictable in its patterns. Humans saw it as something more organic, more alive, full of possibilities that couldn't be calculated but could be discovered through trial, error, and what they called thinking outside the box. We stand at a moment of choice, Lyra 9 announced. We can continue trying to force human development into our existing framework, knowing it will fail, or we can accept that our framework itself needs to evolve. As if in response to her words, another alert flashed across the archive's displays. A human colony had found a way to communicate with the crystalline beings that formed the outer shells of gas giants, beings the Meridians had long classified as mere mineral formations. The humans had done it by teaching them to sing. The probability engine, in its last act before permanent shutdown, issued a final prediction. The future is no longer predictable, and that might be exactly what we need. The Meridian High Council chamber had been redesigned. Where once perfect crystalline geometries dominated the space, now organic curves and asymmetrical patterns flowed through the architecture. The change had come gradually, inspired by prolonged exposure to human thinking. Some Meridians found it disturbing. Others found it strangely liberating. We've confirmed the latest report from the Jupiter colonies, ARC-7 announced, his own crystalline form showing traces of irregular growth patterns. The humans have successfully established a symbiotic relationship with the gas giant's crystalline consciousness. They're teaching our cousins to dance. Lyra 9 absorbed this information, her facets refracting light in complex new ways. The crystalline beings of the gas giants have been considered little more than mineral deposits by the Meridians for millennia. Yet humans, with their inexplicable ability to see patterns in chaos, had recognized them as kindred spirits trapped in rigid forms. "Show me their method," she requested. The chamber filled with a holographic display of human ships orbiting Jupiter. They were broadcasting what the humans called music, complex, seemingly random patterns of sound that somehow contained mathematical harmonies the Meridians had never considered. The crystalline beings responded with their own resonances, creating a dialogue of vibration and light that defied conventional analysis. "They're not just communicating," Corfor observed, his traditional skepticism now tinged with wonder. "They're playing." The concept of play had been particularly challenging for the Meridians to grasp. In their ordered worldview, every action needed a clear purpose, a definable goal. Humans engaged in activities simply for the joy of discovery, finding breakthrough innovations, almost by accident, while pursuing what they called fun. A new alert drew their attention. A human research team had discovered a way to travel through subspace by, in their words, teaching quantum particles to hold hands and skip together. The method violated 17 fundamental laws of physics as the Meridians understood them. It also worked perfectly. "Their influence is spreading," Arc 7 reported. "Other species are beginning to experiment. The Volturi have started writing poetry. The hive mind of Proxima Centauri is asking philosophical questions. Even the machine intelligences of the Cygnus arm are developing what they call imagination protocols." The chamber's harmonics shifted to frequencies of deep contemplation. The Meridians had always seen themselves as the guardians of galactic order, ensuring that species developed along predictable, manageable paths. Now that order was being transformed, not through conflict or chaos, but through the simple human act of asking, "What if?" "We've received another transmission from their scientific council," Arc 7 continued. "They're proposing a joint research initiative. They want to combine our computational precision with what they call human intuition." Lyra 9 studied the proposal, noting how it defied traditional categorization. The humans weren't suggesting a rigid framework of cooperation, but rather an organic partnership that could evolve in unexpected ways. They wanted to merge Meridian order with human chaos, seeing strength in the combination that neither civilization could achieve alone. "There's more," Arc 7 added. "They've begun sharing their method of crystalline communication with other species. The gas giant beings are now engaging in what humans call jam sessions with organic life forms across 3 sectors. The resulting energy patterns are beautiful." The chamber's displays showed the spread of this new form of interaction, where once the galaxy had been neatly divided into predictable patterns of development, now streams of innovation flowed between species like rivers of light. The humans hadn't just broken the mold. They had suggested that molds themselves were optional. "We're receiving messages from our own youth," Corfor reported, his tone carrying unexpected harmonics of excitement. "They're requesting permission to establish direct cultural exchange programs with human colonies. They want to learn what they call creativity." Lyra 9 felt her crystalline structure vibrate with new possibilities. The Meridians had always equated change with chaos, and chaos with danger. But the humans had shown them something different. A kind of chaos that didn't destroy order, but rather enhanced it, enriched it, made it more complete. "Look at this," Arc 7 called, projecting a new image. A young Meridian, barely a century old, had attempted to dance like their gas giant cousins. The resulting pattern of light and crystal growth should have been considered a deformity. Instead, it was mathematically complex in ways their traditional forms had never achieved. Throughout the chamber, Meridians were beginning to move differently, their perfect geometric forms flowing with new rhythms. They were learning, slowly but surely, that precision didn't have to mean rigidity, that patterns could be both orderly and unpredictable, that the universe might be stranger and more wonderful than their calculations had ever suggested. A final alert appeared. The humans had found a way to communicate directly with quantum fluctuations in the vacuum of space. They claimed they simply needed to listen carefully and keep an open mind. The Meridians, for the first time in their long history, were ready to do exactly that. 5 years after first contact, the Meridian homeworld bore little resemblance to its former self. The once rigid crystalline spires now flowed with organic curves, pulsing with colors that would have once been considered chaotic. In the central plaza of the High Council, a human child and a young Meridian sat together, teaching quantum particles to play hopscotch. "The patterns are stabilizing," Arc 7 reported, his own form now a harmonious blend of geometric precision and flowing innovation. "The merger of human intuition and Meridian computation has opened pathways we never imagined possible." Lyra 9 observed the massive holographic display showing the state of galactic civilization, where once carefully segregated species developed along predetermined lines. Now a vibrant network of cultural and technological exchange flowed freely through space. The humans hadn't just changed the Meridians, they had catalyzed an evolutionary leap in galactic society itself. "Show me the synthesis project," she requested. The display shifted to a massive space station orbiting a quantum singularity. Here, human scientists worked alongside Meridian researchers, combining mathematical precision with imaginative leaps to explore the fundamental nature of reality. They had already achieved what both civilizations had once considered impossible: conscious communication with the universe itself. The quantum coffee makers were just the beginning. A human scientist named Dr. Sarah Chen explained, her holographic form gesturing enthusiastically. "Once we started treating quantum particles like creative partners rather than just objects of study, they started showing us possibilities we'd never considered." The chamber's harmonics resonated with new understanding. The Meridians had spent millennia trying to impose order on the universe, seeing chaos as a force to be contained and controlled. The humans had shown them that chaos and order weren't opposites, but rather two aspects of a deeper harmony. A group of Meridian youth floated past, their crystalline forms deliberately grown into asymmetrical patterns that somehow enhanced their computational abilities. They were headed to what humans called an art class, where they would learn to express mathematical theorems through interpretive dance. The probability engine, had it still existed, would have crashed trying to calculate the implications. "We're receiving the latest data from the gas giant consciousness network," Arc 7 announced. "The crystalline beings have developed a new form of music that simultaneously expresses quantum equations and emotional states. They're calling it the Song of Everything, and it's beginning to attract attention from species we never even knew were sentient." The void between galaxies, Core 4 added, his once rigid skepticism transformed into pioneering curiosity. "It's not empty at all. The humans were right. Everything is alive, everything is connected. We just never knew how to listen." Across the galaxy, ancient barriers were dissolving. Species that the Meridians had classified as primitive were revealing sophisticated understandings of reality that had been overlooked simply because they didn't fit expected patterns. The humans' gift wasn't just their technology or their creativity. It was their fundamental ability to see possibility where others saw only chaos. A small commotion drew attention to the chamber's entrance. A delegation of quantum particles had arrived for diplomatic talks, their probability clouds forming elaborate patterns that somehow conveyed both mathematical precision and what humans called interpretive dance. They were accompanied by a human physicist who had taught them the art of structured improvisation. "We stand at the beginning of a new age," Lyra 9 announced, her crystalline form refracting light in ways that would have once been considered impossible. Not an age of order imposed from above, but of harmony arising from the creative interplay of all things. The chamber's displays showed the spread of this new understanding across the cosmos. The rigid categories that had once defined galactic civilization were transforming into something more fluid, more alive. The humans hadn't conquered the galaxy, they had awakened it. In orbit above the Meridian homeworld, a new structure was taking shape. Not a building or a station, but what humans called a playground for ideas. Here, the laws of physics themselves were invited to relax and explore new possibilities. Reality, it seemed, had a sense of humor after all. "The children have a question," Arc 7 reported, indicating the human girl and young Meridian who had been teaching quantum physics to play. "They want to know if it's possible to make friends with time itself." Lyra 9's facets shimmered with what she now recognized as joy. 5 years ago, such a question would have been dismissed as meaningless. Now it seemed like exactly the kind of inspiration that might lead to the next great discovery. "Tell them to try," she answered, "and remind them to bring cookies." It worked with the singularity. After all, throughout the galaxy, a new song was beginning, a harmony of order and chaos, precision and possibility, mathematics and dreams. The humans had shown that the universe wasn't a problem to be solved, but a partner in an endless dance of discovery. And somewhere in the quantum foam of space-time, particles that had once been bound by rigid laws were learning to play, to create, to imagine. They were learning what humans had known all along, that the greatest mysteries of existence might be solved not through force or calculation, but through the simple act of asking, why not?